I never thought a smile could ruin my life, but 5 years ago, in the heart of a sleeping city, I learned that some smiles aren't meant for comfort. They're warnings, and once you see one like that, it never really leaves you. My name is Alex. Back then, I was 26, freshly graduated, and working a dead-end office job that paid just enough to share a cramped apartment downtown with my roommate. Mark was the complete opposite of me. Early to bed, early to rise, always preaching about healthy sleep cycles. Me, I was a creature of the night. After he turned in around 11, the apartment would fall into this heavy, suffocating silence, the kind where you could hear the hum of the refrigerator and the distant traffic like a slow heartbeat of the city. I'd lie there on my bed staring at the cracked ceiling, feeling the walls close in. Sleep never came easy, so I'd slip on my jacket, lace up my old sneakers, and go for walks. Long ones, sometimes 2, 3 hours at a time. Those nights felt like freedom. The streets were mostly empty, the streetlights casting long, pale pools of yellow that made everything look slightly unreal. I'd walk past closed shops with their metal grates pulled down, past alleys that smelled of rain and old garbage, listening to the soft echo of my own footsteps. It was peaceful, or at least, it used to be. For 4 years, nothing bad ever happened. I'd joke with Mark in the mornings, another safe night in the concrete jungle. He'd roll his eyes and tell me I was tempting fate. I didn't listen. Why would I? The city felt like mine at night. That changed on a humid Tuesday in late August. It was around 2:30 in the morning. The air was thick, the kind that sticks to your skin and makes your shirt cling uncomfortably. I'd walked my usual route, down Maple Street, past the old library with its gargoyle, like statues, then cutting through the small park that bordered the river. The park was quiet, except for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant lapping of water against the concrete bank. I was about halfway home, headphones in but no music playing. I liked hearing the world around me when I first noticed him. He was standing under a flickering streetlight at the corner ahead, maybe 50 yards away. Tall, maybe 6'3", wearing a plain gray hoodie and dark jeans. Nothing unusual at first, but as I got closer, something felt off. He was smiling. Not a normal, passing, stranger smile. This was wide. Too wide. His lips stretched almost unnaturally across his face, showing all his teeth in a perfect gleaming row. His eyes were wide open too, unblinking, locked directly on me, even though I was still far away. My steps slowed just a little. A chill prickled at the back of my neck, the kind you feel when someone is watching you from behind, even though he was in front of me. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he was drunk. Maybe he was just a weird night owl like me. I kept walking, trying to act casual, but my heart had already picked up its pace. As I approached the crosswalk, he didn't move. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, that insane grin fixed in place. When I was about 20 feet away, he tilted his head slightly, like a curious dog, but the smile never wavered. Not even a twitch at the corners. I crossed the street without looking at him directly, but I could feel his gaze burning into the side of my face. The air around him smelled strange, faintly metallic, like old coins mixed with something sweeter, almost sickly. My stomach turned. I walked faster. The echo of my footsteps sounded louder now, sharper against the empty buildings. After about a block, I risked a glance over my shoulder. He was following me. Not running. Just walking at the same steady pace, that smile still plastered across his face. Under the next streetlight, I saw his eyes more clearly. They were empty. Not vacant like someone on drugs, but empty in a way that suggested there was nothing. My mouth went dry. I turned forward again, breath coming quicker. The night suddenly felt colder, even though the humidity hadn't lifted. I could hear his footsteps now, soft, deliberate, matching mine almost perfectly. Step, step, step. I turned down a side street I knew well, one that led toward busier avenues. My mind raced with excuses. Maybe he lived this way. Maybe it was coincidence. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Halfway down the new block, I looked back again. He was closer. Maybe 30 feet now. That smile. God, that smile. It looked like it hurt, like the muscles in his face were locked in permanent strain. His arms swung loosely at his sides, but his fingers were curled oddly, almost claw, like I started jogging lightly. Not full panic yet, but close. The sound of my own breathing filled my ears. Shallow, ragged. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I could feel it in my throat. Behind me, his pace quickened too. Not running. Just matching me. Always matching. I cut through another alley, the walls closing in, graffiti blurring past under dim security lights. The smell of urine and rotting food hit me, but I barely noticed. All I could focus on was that presence behind me. When I emerged onto the next main road, I looked back one more time. He was gone. For a second, relief flooded me so strongly my knees nearly buckled. I leaned against a lamppost, catching my breath, sweat cooling on my skin despite the warm night. Maybe I'd imagined the whole thing, stress from work, lack of sleep, my mind playing tricks. I laughed shakily to myself. Get it together, Alex. I continued home, glancing over my shoulder every few seconds. The streets were silent again, no footsteps, no shadow, just the occasional car in the distance. But when I finally reached my apartment building, as I fumbled for my keys under the entrance light, I caught movement in the corner of my eye. Across the street, half, hidden in the shadow of a parked van. He was standing there, still smiling. That same wide, terrible grin. He raised one hand slowly and waved, just once, like we were old friends. I bolted inside, slammed the door, and ran up the stairs 2 at a time. My hands shook so badly it took 3 tries to get the apartment key in the lock. Mark was asleep, snoring softly in his room. I locked my bedroom door, sat on the bed with the lights on, and didn't sleep a wink until dawn crept through the blinds. The next few days were hell. I avoided night walks completely. Work felt distant, like I was watching myself go through the motions. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile. It haunted my dreams, not chasing me, just standing there, smiling, waiting. I told myself it was over. A one-time weirdo, cities are full of them. But 2 weeks later, it happened again. This time I was on a different route, trying to convince myself I could reclaim my nights. Around 1 a.m., near the old train station, I felt it again, that prickling on the back of my neck. He was there, leaning against a chain link fence, hands in pockets, smiling that same impossible smile. This time, he was closer when I first spotted him. Maybe 15 yards. I froze for a second. Then I turned and walked the other way, fast. My sneakers slapped against the pavement. His footsteps followed immediately. This time, I didn't look back for a long time. I just moved, weaving through streets I knew by heart, trying to lose him in the grid of downtown. But no matter which way I turned, after a few minutes, I'd catch a glimpse, him standing at the end of a block, or reflected in a dark shop window, always smiling. At one point, I hid in the recessed doorway of a closed bookstore, pressing my back against the cold glass, trying to control my breathing. The air smelled of old paper and dust seeping from inside. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. Minutes passed 5:10. I started to relax. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps, slow, approaching the doorway. Step, step. I held my breath until my lungs burned. A shadow fell across the entrance. He stopped right outside, just inches away. I could smell that same metallic sweet odor, stronger now. I could hear his breathing, slow, steady, almost peaceful. But that smile. I didn't need to see it to know it was there. He stood there for what felt like an eternity. Then he whispered something, so quietly I almost missed it. "You remember me, don't you?" His voice was hoarse, like it hadn't been used in years, but there was a childish glee underneath it. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My body was locked in place, ice flooding my veins. After another long pause, he chuckled softly. A wet, bubbling sound. Then the footsteps retreated. When I finally dared to look, the street was empty again. That night broke something in me. I moved out of the city 3 months later, telling Mark it was for a better job opportunity upstate. I never told him the real reason. How could I? "Hey man, there's a smiling maniac stalking me at night," sounded insane, even to myself. But the worst part, it didn't end when I left. 6 months after moving to a quieter town 2 hours away, I started noticing things small at first. A tall figure standing across from my new office building at dusk, smiling gone when I looked again. Footsteps behind me on empty sidewalks that stopped when I stopped. Then came the dreams. In them, I was a child again, maybe 8 years old, back in my grandparents' old house in the countryside. I used to have an imaginary friend named Smiley. I'd draw pictures of him, a stick figure with a huge grinning face. My parents thought it was cute, but one night I woke up to find the window open, curtains blowing in the cold wind, and there, standing in the doorway, was a real man. Tall, smiling, exactly like my drawings. I screamed. My parents came running. They said it was just a nightmare, but the next morning there were muddy footprints on the carpet leading from the window to my bed, and then back out. I had forgotten all about that until the smiling man returned. Now, years later, I live even further away. I work from home. I don't go out after dark. Ever. But last week, I found something on my doorstep. A child's drawing, a stick figure with an enormous smile underneath. In shaky handwriting that looked like my own from childhood. "Let's play again soon. I missed you." I burned it immediately, but the smell of smoke couldn't erase that metallic sweet odor that lingered in the air afterward. Sometimes late at night, when the house is completely silent, I stand at the window and look out into the darkness. I tell myself there's nothing there, but I know better now. He's still smiling, and he's waiting for me to come out and play, because some smiles don't belong to strangers. They belong to something that's been with you all along, hiding behind your own memories.